Hello. Today is January 22nd, 2026. I'm meeting today with Mr. Glenn Sill at his home in Woodland Park, Colorado. My name is Brad Hoops. I'm the interviewer for the Remember and Honor Veterans History Project. Welcome, Glenn, and thank you for sitting down today to tell your story.
You're welcome.
Let's start out, if we could. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your date of birth, where you're born, a little bit about your family.
I was born March 25th, 1937. It's a long time ago. In California.
Okay.
Mom and Dad, my mom was from Arkansas, Dad was from Oklahoma. And the Oklahoma tie-in there is, if you remember, Fort Sill, Oklahoma. I'm a descendant in that family tree.
Is that right?
Fort Sill was named after Brigadier General Joshua Wayne Sill. He's in the family tree somewhere.
Huh.
But born in California, probably conceived in Oklahoma, but I was born in California.
Were your parents part of the Oklahoma
Oklahoma Sill, yeah.
Oklahoma people that migrated to California from the Dust Bowl, or was it any relation in that regard? Or
It was after that, but not much.
Okay.
We're 5 or 10 years after the Grapes of Wrath, but my family was part of that exodus from Oklahoma because of the environment, not the environment physical, but political.
Oh, really?
And money, financing.
Fair enough, yeah.
So they came to California. So.
And you grew up, went to school out there. What part of California did you grow up in?
First part was in Central Valley, California. During World War II, I was 3 and 4 and 5 years old, and we lived in, excuse the cat, lived in Oakland. My dad worked in the shipyard building Liberty ships during World War II.
Wow. Huh.
So then, but basically I grew up in a town called Oakdale, which is about 90 miles inland from San Francisco and 90 miles away from the mountains from Yosemite Valley. So right in there in the foothills of the Sierras.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
It was a wonderful time and place to grow up. Everything was idyllic.
Yeah, yeah. Any siblings?
I had 3 younger brothers. I was the oldest of 4 boys. Unfortunately, all 3 of my younger brothers have all passed now, so I'm the only one that's left. So. Then grew up in Oakdale, California, and went to grammar school there. And in grammar school, one of my classmates at the time was my wife now.
Oh, wow.
We were in the 5th grade together.
So you've known her since 5th grade.
5th grade. But on into high school, she played the piano. A virtuoso piano player. And she played the piano for all the mixed chorus and a cappella choir and the plays and all the skits. And she played, and I sang in the choirs, and I got to play lead in a couple of the operettas.
Huh.
So we go back a long ways. But we never, quote, got together until after high school, into college, when I finally got enough courage to ask her out, other than school. So
wow.
It's a long time ago.
Wow, great story.
Yes. So, grew up in Oakdale, went to, I guess, shifting into the later part, during the Cuban Missile Crisis, I had joined the National Guard while I was in high school, California National Guard. Don't hold that against me. When I was in high school, joined the Guard, During the Cuban Missile Crisis, they needed officers, so I went to the regular Army, sponsored and conducted a regular Army OCS school and program, which took a year. I was commissioned in the California National Guard, second lieutenant.
Well, now, what prompted you to join the National Guard?
There was a brand new National Guard armory in Oakdale. They built it, and they had a tank there, and I just fell in love with the tank.
Okay.
And the military structure, I guess, appealed to me. So, a lot of fond memories from the National Guard people. There were people in the Guard, but also they were neighbors and friends and storekeepers that I knew in the community.
Right.
But when we went to summer camp, we were an Army unit. So it was good. So.
And then, so you transitioned then into the regular Army, or
No.
what was that like then?
Well, when I joined, it was a private E1 in the California National Guard. The private E1 in the California National Guard is just below a Cub Scout. For several years, I worked my way up through the enlisted ranks, and I got to be, in fact, at one time I was the youngest E6 in the California National Guard. Then went to LCS, fast forward, got my commission, stayed in civilian life for 3 years, but then I was promoted to first lieutenant, and then things got a little hot, so in 1963, Lois and I said, let's go see the world. It's a big world out there, and both of us have wandering, itchy feet, so we like to travel. So let's go see the world. So I requested active duty. In October of 1963, I received orders to go to Germany as a first lieutenant.
So backing up, by this time you and Lois had gotten married.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we got married. We were married in 1958, the 3rd of July, 1958. 3rd of July, the day before Independence Day. So we've been married, do the math, 1958.
What, 68 years?
Yes. To the same person also.
Yeah. Huh.
So that was our start of our military career. And we've literally traveled all over the world.
Wow.
We've been all 7 continents. Had 2 tours in Germany. So total in Germany, we probably had total 7 to 8 years in Germany.
And I imagine you use that as a base camp to explore Europe.
We saw all of, into Italy, to Spain, Portugal, Denmark. We went out from there because Germany is simply located.
Yeah.
So if you want to travel, you go, and you saw the world as it was then, and the way it is now is not like it was then.
Right.
So,
Right.
so yeah.
So what were your responsibilities over in Germany, or what was your position?
I was the XO for a tank company.
So you got into tanks then?
I got into tanks.
Yeah.
Into tanks. I got XO for the 4th Battalion, 35th Armor. And our role was to patrol parts of the border between East Germany. So I saw a lot of Germany, both from a Jeep with no top, icy cold.
Yeah.
So a lot of stories there. So Grafenwehr, Hohenfels, Tenenlohe, which were all training areas, German training areas at the time. Grafenwehr was a place where Rommel trained his units before he went to South Africa.
Hmm.
So, hallowed grounds
Yeah, right.
in a negative sense.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. And you're right there in the thick of the Cold War, too.
Right
Where tensions were
right
pretty
in-
high.
Right in the middle of it.
Yeah. Wow.
That's the story of my life. I always end up in the middle of something,
Yeah, right.
good, bad, or otherwise.
Yeah. So you did that first tour to Germany. Take your story from there then.
Let's see, 60. Went to Armor Officer Advanced Course in Fort Knox, Kentucky. Fort Knox, Kentucky, it used to be the home of Armor, but now the home of Armor has moved. Then I went to jumping around, but in 67, I was sent to Vietnam for my first tour.
Mm.
And the Vietnam, the first tour, I was a captain at the time, and went into to Saigon, the long way around. The plane I was on had mechanical problems. It had to land in Pleiku, which wouldn't. I didn't have any combat. I was in khakis. Pictures in the book. Khakis into Saigon later. Finally made the way to Saigon.
Yeah, did you go over as a unit, or did you go over as a replacement?
As an individual.
Yeah, okay. And what was that like? I always hear everybody that when they land in Vietnam and that door opens, it's like a sauna hit them, and the smells, and everybody talks about the smells and the heat when they first climb off the plane.
All the above.
All the
Pleiku, when first experience with Vietnam, with Pleiku was fairly remote, quite a ways from Saigon. It's up in the highlands, so the smells the smells were not that bad, but the heat and the humidity. That's one of the reasons I live at Woodland Park, 8,600 feet high. I love trees, deciduous trees, evergreen, and I detest humidity. So that's one of the reasons we live here. So at Saigon, then I was there, and I was assigned, unbeknownst to me, but since I was an armor officer, armor captain, and they had an opening, a need, a requirement, because of the guy before me got hit, shall we say. I was sent to be an advisor, a MACV advisor. MACV is the Military Assistance Command Vietnam, which was commanded at the time by Westmoreland. Westmoreland was commanded MACV. General Abrams at the time was USARV, United States Army of Vietnam. So Westmoreland was all the MACV advisors. Abrams was all the U.S. troops. So, but I was assigned to MACV, so I didn't serve with the U.S. troops. I was assigned as an advisor with a Vietnamese armored cavalry unit.
Oh wow! Wow.
Now, supposedly, before the policy at that time was in MACV, you were sent to a school in California, a language school and a cultural shock school, to train you to adapt to living with Oriental Vietnamese.
Right.
I didn't go there. They sent me straight straight into MACV to live with the Vietnamese. Contrary to a lot of people's belief, they were good people.
Yeah.
They were, like anything else, they were good and bad, but most of my experiences with the Vietnamese were very, very positive. They cared for me, I cared for them. So, and with Advisory Team 70.
So were you the only American attached to that, or was there?
No, Advisory Team 70, it gets complicated, but
Oh, okay.
with the unit I was assigned to, was MACV Advisory Team 70. But then Advisory Team 70 had multiple teams out. And the unit was the Vietnamese 1st Armored Cavalry Squadron. The Vietnamese, I think, had 10 or 12, maybe 15 Vietnamese Armored Cavalry Squadrons. Now, a squadron is like a battalion, and I was assigned the 1st troop of the 1st Squadron, which was, in Vietnamese language, Mot Hai Ba Bon 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm speaking Vietnamese language for you. I can help you with pronunciation if you like. But Mot Hai Ba Bon. The 1st troop was Mot in the 1st Squadron. So I was advisor from Mot Mot. 1st troop, 1st Squadron. A troop is like a infantry or tank company. It's an army. And each troop had one officer, at the time was a captain, and one NCO, either an E6 or an E7, were assigned to that unit as live with them advisors. Now, the base camp, it's a glorified camp, where the Armored Cavalry Squadron stayed, and we were in a compound all of our own. We weren't with anybody else. We were out in the boonies. We had let's see, 5 troops, and each troop had one captain and one NCO. So you got at least 5 or 6 captains there. Then you had an XO, which was a major, and we had a medic who was an E7, U.S. E7, assigned with us, and we all lived in this. We called it a hooch, and it was a corrugated metal top, sandbags around the side, and had a concrete floor. Poured by the advisory guys who were there before I was. We all that was our home. Our showers were 55-gallon drums with open water, concrete floor. You dipped in water and you poured it on, you lathered it up, and you dipped water out. That was luxury. That was when you came back in from the field. So that was base camp. That was Godao.
And food was basically just sea rations and.
Well, we had it was a mix of Vietnamese food and U.S. food. We had there were sea rations and combat rations. But then there were other rations that were normally sent to larger units, like a mess hall or something, larger containers. Like we had like a big container of shrimp, which actually we made our own shrimp sauce, and it was good.
Wow.
You know, Tabasco sauce and ketchup, and so we made our own meals. The E7, the medic, called him Doc. Everybody calls the medic Doc.
Yeah.
He in essence kind of served as a cook, and he was good. So we got all different kind of food from different sources, and he ate there at Godao.
Wow. Well, how was it? Your war was different than, say, the Korean and the World War II, where you knew, 5 clicks up the road, that was the front line. But here, everything was mixed up. You didn't know friend from foe. Did you feel safe among the Vietnamese? Were you constantly on guard, or how was that?
Initially, you're on guard to the point that your adrenaline hurts. But after a while, you got used to the Vietnamese soldiers, and you got to recognize that I won't say they were afraid also, but when we went outside of our own compound, which it was probably the size of maybe 3 or 4 football fields, and concertina wire around it and bunkers, and that was our home. When we were in there, you felt safe. And we were close enough to Saigon that we had minimal television reception.
Oh, really?
And the movie Hello Vietnam, that was when I was there, and we listened to him every morning, and we said things back to him that I can't repeat. So that Hello Vietnam, I was there, and we watched him every morning. He was good.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So you guys would go out on missions with these Vietnamese, or would you just purely?
No, we would go with them. When our troop left the compound, I would ride on one of the tanks, and my NCO, Sergeant Sellers, Earl Sellers, wonderful guy. Don't know where he is now, but anyway, when we leave the compound, the officer and NCO would always be with their unit.
Oh.
So we would go out and we'd spend 1, 2, 3, or 4 days. Depends what our mission was, to escort some U.S. troops or escort a Vietnamese unit, or respond to somebody who was in trouble. And we did that quite a bit, and that's kind of like armored cavalry.
Yeah.
Somebody would be in trouble, they'd call in the frequencies, and they'd say help. Different words than help, but we would go out and in essence fight our way to the problem.
Wow. How was it with the armored divisions? It doesn't seem like the Vietnam War was conducive to armor, to tank warfare.
Parts were and parts were not. Vietnam, you got north to South Vietnam, and you got 1,000 miles. It's a long. Parts of Vietnam were swampy, rice paddies.
Yeah.
Tanks just didn't go there. And parts of Vietnam were heavy, dense jungle, and you didn't go there. So there were just certain parts that you could go to. See, like around Saigon, so we operated between Saigon and the Cambodian border. Saigon, Cambodia, if you look at the map, it's called the Parrot Beak. That's what we called it then. It's like a part of Cambodia that comes down close to Saigon. So we operated between Saigon and the Cambodian border, and we were, you probably heard of Cu Chi with the tunnels. We were, unbeknownst, well, we knew part of it sometimes. Some of the tunnels were under us. Not in our compound, but out as we'd go out. It was when you go outside the compound, that's when your adrenaline, you tighten up.
Oh, no doubt.
And anytime you go outside, that's your antenna goes up. And you become very aware of what's around you.
But I would imagine you also got shelled while you're in the compound, or not? Was that ever an issue?
No, the only time that we got shelled, if you will, was during the first day of Tet, 1968. That's when the NVA attacked, and we had one of our troops out on patrol at the time, and then that Tet happened, and the troop, it was one of our ACAV vehicles. ACAV is armored cavalry. It's a APC, armored personnel carrier, with machine guns mounted on with bulletproof steel shields around the guns, both front, side, and back. So there were a lot of 50 calibers, and there were a lot of firepower.
Yeah.
but they were caught outside about 2 or 3 miles out on a patrol, and they had to fight their way back into the compound. But we were under fire at the compound with. We found out later it was a North Vietnamese regiment. You know, they feared our firepower so much that they directed a lot at us. But we had a lot of firepower going out. We had the M41A3 tanks, they had a 76 millimeter gun, and we had our ACAV vehicles. We had mortars, 4-deuce mortars, 4.2-inch mortars, and all of them had multiple 50 caliber machine guns. And we had one track we called Zippo. It was a flamethrower track.
Oh, wow!
And
that must have been impressive to watch.
it was something. So no, we did not get hit on compound because there was so much firepower there. If they started shooting at us, and also we had artillery places already plotted. So if somebody started firing, we already had artillery units with the Big Red 1 Division. Godao was about 5 miles maybe away from Lam Son. Lam Son was the base camp co-located next to the 1st Division, U.S. Big Red 1 Division. They had their compound was there. Ghazni compound was a MACV compound, separate compound, but next to it, adjacent to it. So we had a availability of a lot of artillery.
Okay.
So anytime somebody would mess with us, we'd get in the radio and say, hit target 4 or 5 or 6, and all hell would break loose at that location. So they didn't mess with us too much. They were afraid of our firepower.
Right.
And our air. We had Hueys. The first Cobra. First Cobra helicopter that I saw was the first day of Tet, 68. And they had the call sign for the Cobra unit were the Playboys. Had the Playboy symbol on the helicopter. Right. So the Playboys, they came in and during that first day of Tet, and they were firing rockets and things over the top of our head at the NVA guys who were shooting at us.
What was the vegetation like around your compound?
Right close to it, nothing. We cleared it.
Yeah.
But you have to go out probably 300 or 400 yards around the compound. If you moved, we saw you.
Okay.
So we cleared that, but beyond that, it wasn't jungle, but it was fairly heavily treed, but not. It wasn't tropical jungle type.
Okay.
A lot of rubber trees in the area.
Okay. Yeah. And getting back to the conduciveness of armored warfare in Vietnam with the weather conditions and what was it like inside the tank? I mean, I envision this hot, steamy soup bowl, if you will.
Well, you didn't button up the tank, and number one, you kept it open because the only time you button it up was if you're under fire. So it opened. You got all the hatches open. It was hot, but I did not ride in the tank. I rode on top of the tank. I say, wait a minute, that's a target. You know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but each place in the tank had a tank crewman, and you can't take your gunner out to put an advisor in there.
Yeah, right.
And an advisor can't be your loader. and the advisor can't drive, so the advisor, we rode on top.
Wow. Even, I mean, when you came on fire, you couldn't jump in and go off into a corner or something? I mean, what
No,
would...
if we got into a fire, I got off the tank.
Oh, jeez.
No, you just...
Ah.
Funny story about that.
Yeah, please.
Later on, but we got in a heavy gunfire one time. We were sent over to the Parrot Peak area, across the river, close to Cambodia. Actually, we weren't supposed to, but we went into Cambodia. Politically, but keep in mind it was a Vietnamese unit. It wasn't a U.S. unit.
Yeah.
It wasn't a U.S. unit. So that we went into Cambodia and had some pretty heavy firefights. But one firefight, the tanks were in a kind of a dried up rice paddy, and we were getting heavy fire from the tree line, and I got off the tank and got down kind of a berm where the rice paddy was, and Sergeant Sellers, he was on another tank. He was down, and he was probably 5 or 10 feet away, and bullets were flying around. And funny story, I have to tell it. Sergeant Sellers, and I was fairly early in my time there. So he was laying there, loading his gun. He'd raise up and empty his gun. He didn't know where he was shooting. He was just empty his machine gun, dropped down, and he did that 2 or 3 times. And then I said, Sellers, he said, sir, what the hell are you shooting at? The bad guys, okay. Then he started looking around. He kept looking, he'd empty his gun, then he'd stop and look around. And I'd say, Sellers, what the hell are you looking at? Sir, I'm looking for the MBOR. MBOR. Now, military, we have a lot of jargons. Combat Outpost Line, COPL, FEBA, the forward edge of the battle area, all these acronyms.
Uh-huh.
But I'd never heard of the MBOR. So I said, Sellers, after a while, what the hell is the MBOR? He said, sir, that's the main bug out route. He suckered me into that one so bad. Funny story.
Yeah. Wow.
So that was a joke on me.
Yeah, right.
We look for the MBOR.
Humor in the thick of war.
Right? And, yeah.
Probably kept you going.
Yeah.
Can you think of some operations or missions you went out on that stick out in your mind during that assignment? Or were they all, or if you just want to talk what an ordinary mission would be like, if there was such thing as...
Well, no, I can talk about the one where I got hit with a grenade. We were sent out, when we were sent out as the tank troop, and we were sent out to protect, if you will, another unit along a route. It was not a compound, it was a route that they had to travel on, convoys. And we went out and we made contact with the Vietnamese unit. Now, we always went with an infantry unit or airborne unit, ranger unit, Vietnamese. We never went out just as an armored unit alone. We always had a Vietnamese ranger battalion or ground troops with us. Mm-hmm. So we didn't just go out there and look for trouble. Long story short, we had contact, and next morning we were moving forward, and I have a Reader's Digest version here. A VC, Viet Cong, not an NVA, the difference. Viet Cong with a civilian guerrilla type warfare, the NVA with a regular NVA uniformed North Vietnamese troops. One of these DC was about 15 feet in front of the tank, and he had a grenade. He was pulling the pin on the grenade. We're going to throw the grenade on the tank. Well, that's not good. So the driver stopped and started screaming, and he buttoned up his hatch. The two guys on either side, one of them was on a 50 caliber. He couldn't get his gun down low enough because he was so close.
Mm-hmm.
They started to run toward the back of the tank. I had an M2 carbine with a 30-round magazine, and I saw him. He was there pulling the pin on the grenade. So I emptied the carbine, 30 rounds. They counted 28 holes in him.
Good shot.
Well, it wasn't that far away.
Yeah.
But it was on full automatic anyway.
Yeah.
And I got hit in the face. That's
The scar.
that's the scar in the face, and that's why I wear my watch on the right wrist instead of the left wrist, because it blew the watch into the wrist.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway, they sent me to a medevac. We were in a location where the medevac helicopters didn't go. So they called in because I was laying down there, head wound, you're bleeding all over the place. They called in a Huey Hog. Now, a Huey Hog is, you're familiar with the Huey helicopter?
Yes, yeah.
The Huey Hog is a short version of the Huey, but it was transformed into a gunship. It had machine guns and rocket launchers mounted on it, plus the door gunners. So it was really a Huey gunship converted, made into. That's before they got the Cobra. Now that was a helicopter made specifically as a gunship.
Okay.
The Huey Hog, we called it the Huey. Even the pilots called it the Hogs. They came in. The Vietnamese medic, he was kind of panicked and was trying to patch me up, stop the bleeding, and he was giving me morphine shots. So I never felt any pain.
So you were conscious this whole time and aware of everything going on, or?
Oh yeah, I was awake. I tried to get up. The left wrist crumbled because of the, and then I felt something wrong up here, so I felt there, but my hand was full of blood. I don't want to get too much of bloody stories on this stuff.
Yeah.
That's all right.
That's yeah.
But a hand touched here and here. So I didn't feel an eyeball, and at the time, for a few minutes, I actually believed that I was blinded in the right eye because I couldn't see out of it because just the impact. Well, it broke the cheekbone, went inside, and ended up sitting inside the sinus cavity above the teeth. But it shocked the optical nerve, so I was blind in the right eye for a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, they got a Huey Hog, and they don't have places for stretchers and hogs.
Yeah.
So the Huey Hog came in. They stuck my feet on first, so my feet were on one side of the helicopter, heads on the other. And I was looking up, and this the gunner in the Hog. This is a tough one, if I get by it. He was there with his helmet on, he's manning the gun, no shooting going on because it was the next morning. But he looked up, he down, I looked up and I gave him a thumbs up. He gave me a thumbs up. And He had tears for me. I could not buy anything to eat or drink for the next few weeks that I was stationed in that area. We even had some of the guys come out to visit.
Oh, really? Yeah.
The Air Force guys, they'd come out to see where I was. We didn't, in a town like that, in a urban area, you don't sleep outside. If there's a building next door or you're on the street, you go out and clear the building, and that building that's your home. So you just make your home whatever building happens to be nearby, and sometimes it's a residential, sometimes it's a store, it's a manufacturing. Sometimes I've got pictures of it. It's a huge spice factory north of Saigon. Anyway, they come out and visit and say, "Ooh, this is where you live?" I said, "Yeah, this is." So I'd go back in every few days and then take a shower at the officers' club. Anyway, that's enough of that.
So you made it through the Tet.
Tet 68.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, on each side of those 5 months that you were, the 2 months in the hospital, and you had those 5 month segments. Did you ever get an R&R out of country, in country?
Yeah. Yes. R&R in Hawaii.
Oh, Lois was able to.
Lois came over, flew over from Hawaii for R&R.
Oh, good.
But the R&R came. See, I'm trying to think of why is that? The R&R period came during the second 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
So I came in from the streets of Saigon to R&R.
Wow.
And then went back into Saigon to the streets of Saigon with.
That had to be tough to go back after getting away and seeing Lois and seeing civilization and peace and safety to go back.
And resentment.
Oh, right.
Resentment for the people there leading their everyday lives and demonstrating and all kinds of stuff. There was a very deep resentment for what their lack of concern or care about what we were going through.
Now, when you were in country, were you aware of the protests and such back home, or
very little?
Okay, well, good.
Very little.
That's probably a good
thing.
thing.
Even after I finished my second tour, the second part of that first tour,
right.
Flew back into Travis Air Force Base, and did not have to go through the civilian airport stuff where people were.
Yeah.
I didn't go through that.
Oh, good.
Actually, I went through very little of that because I came back to an Air Force Base. Then I went to Lois, and I went to 1968. Yeah, I went to Fort Knox. Fort Knox for an Armor Officer Advanced course, which I got held back for a few weeks from that to go to a nuclear weapons employment course.
Wow, oh, jeez.
That's a long story. Yeah. So I actually did not go into the civilian community much during that period of time because I was from Vietnam, Travis Air Force Base, driving to Kentucky, to Fort Knox, on post quarters. I lived on post, government quarters. Lois and I had a duplex there, a very nice duplex at Fort Knox. So I did not experience very little of that anti-U.S. troop stuff.
And I keep going back to previous wars. For example, World War II. Once the war was over, these and climbed on ships and had 6 weeks, to get home and decompress. Once again, in your war, it was you're on the streets of Saigon. 24 hours later, you're back in civilization. What was that? How did that play psychologically on what kind of adjustment was that like? Or do you remember, or was it even?
It was surreal.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
I can't say it was shocking or exciting or depressing. It just like looking at a science fiction movie. It was surreal. So I can't give you a better explanation.
Yeah, right. Right. Wow. So you're at Fort Knox. Now, at this point, had you decided to make the Army a career, or were you just going through and you're finishing out your enlistment, or what?
Well, an officer doesn't have an enlistment.
Oh.
Officer's commissioned. An enlisted person enlists for a certain period of time.
Oh, okay. All right.
An officer is commissioned and he's active duty for a period of time. So, no, I had at that time adapted to the military structure in life and all. And then at Fort Knox, I put me in command of a training unit, AIT it's called, Advanced Individual Training. I commanded the G Company of the training units at Fort Knox, training troops after they went through basic training, then they go to advanced individual training. So at AIT, we trained them on tanks.
Okay.
Tanks and heavy equipment, and tanks primarily. That Fort Knox was the home of armor.
Mm-hmm.
So, I had at that time I was, in fact, yeah, Fort Knox. That's when they pinned the Silver Star on me, and I was promoted to major.
And talk. What's the background behind the Silver Star? You can't just bypass. Oh, I got a Silver Star and move on. That's
Well, Silver Star was. Let me think. Silver Star was on the second part, the second of the 5 months. I'll just try to give you a Reader's Digest for
okay, sure.
with downtown streets of Saigon, and the NVA were there, and one of the Vietnamese ours was down the street. In fact, one of our tanks got hit. There's a picture in there. One of our tanks got hit, and then that was a messy thing to clean up inside. That's a different story. One of the ACAV vehicles got off on a side street and got ambushed by the NVA with machine guns. And they shot the two guys on top. They killed them. And then I was half a block away, less than that. So I saw what was going on, and so I took off.
You're on foot.
I got off I got on my second tour in Saigon. I was on an ACAV, and I wasn't on a tank.
Oh, okay.
Because I was with the third troop.
That's right.
Got off my ACAV, went to the one that was caught fire, and both getting fire and on fire, and got a couple of guys off of the track, and my guys on the track, they were shooting to give me cover. I wasn't out there, so looking for trouble. I was in trouble.
Yeah.
So they were firing, got a couple of guys off of the ACAV, then pulled the ACAV back, then it got off the track coming back. Then I saw where the NBA were shooting from, and again used my machine gun. Killed 3 of them. They didn't know I was there because they were at an angle shooting at the track, and I was back over here. And saved the track, saved 3 or 4 of the Vietnamese soldiers, and got rid of some NVA. That was a Silver Star.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
A long time ago, long ways away.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So we're back at Fort Knox. You're in AIT training. Take your story from there then. And why did it take so long? Is it that process, the paperwork and stuff, took a while to catch up to you? Why they awarded it so long after the incident?
Well, no, the citation was submitted from MACV. Okay. The problem is it was submitted for a higher level than the Silver Star.
Oh, wow, okay.
But because there were no sufficient verification by U.S., certain, like the Medal of Honor, Distinguished Service Cross, they have to have a very extensive investigation, a very long list of witnesses, and they all, because I was with MACV, and Vietnamese weren't valid witnesses for that anyway.
Yeah, gotcha.
That's why.
Okay, gotcha.
So, it took time. It left MACV for a higher level, but it got to Fort Knox as a Silver Star.
Wow. Wow. Yeah.
Oh, next after AIT, went back to Germany. Back to Germany to the same installation. Pure coincidence. There's a little place, Illesheim, and you can look it up on your Google if you want. Illesheim, it'll show where Illesheim, Germany is. Illesheim is Illesheim, Illesheim, which is a U.S. base, but Illesheim during World War II was a German Luftwaffe air base. And it was so well camouflaged that Patton's divisions bypassed it because they didn't know it was there.
Huh. Wow.
There's some stories there too about the camouflage, how they camouflaged Illesheim. Like the hangars had trees on top of them. They had rail cars that would go up in front of the opening hangars. The rail cars had trees on them. The runway was floodable, actually flooded full of water. It gets complicated.
Yeah. Huh.
Illesheim is still a U.S. air base. It was such perfectly located, and the facilities. Anyway, I was it's complicated in Illesheim. Second tour, I was the operations officer for a tank battalion, and then a tank brigade, and then I was part of as the action officer for ACE Mobile Force. ACE Mobile Force is Allied Command Europe Mobile Force. It's a NATO unit, NATO headquarters. But there's no units, just it's a headquarters. But during certain exercises, NATO units would all converge onto a location. Like when I was there, we went into Yeselkoy, Yeşilköy was at the time the airfield just outside of Turkey, Istanbul. The Yeşilköy Air Base, military air base, functioning as a civilian base. This was before the current monstrosity, huge air base they have now. At that time, Istanbul Air Base, facilities were supported by the military base called Yeşilköy. So the U.S. sent an infantry battalion with a lieutenant colonel commanding a battalion, but then the Danes, the French, the Germans, there's 4 or 5 different countries all sent units, and they all converged onto Yeşilköy, and then we did cross-country maneuvers from Turkish Thrace. Istanbul sits right on, it's the southern end of Europe.
Right.
You go across the Bosphorus, then you go into Asia. So we operated cross-country from Istanbul up to, and we paraded the United Nations flag, NATO, and the U.S. flag, all the other flags. We paraded them on the Bulgarian border.
Kind of a show of force sort of thing.
And that was the purpose of the Ace Mobile Force, to demonstrate that, hey guys, don't come, this is what you're going to be running up against.
Mm-hmm.
So that Ace Mobile Force was a very, how shall I say it, a very prestigious position that I was put into.
Wow.
I was put in there as the deputy commander for all U.S. troops in the Ace Mobile Force.
Now, were you still considered the U.S. Army, or were you on loan to NATO, or what?
No, you're still Army, U.S. Army.
Yeah.
You know, but it's when you put all the troops together, they're all still U.S. troops, all German troops, all troops, but they're under one flag. They're under NATO.
Yeah. Okay.
Ace Mobile Force.
Okay.
So, no, I guess you can say we're on loan for that period of time, but so I got paid by the U.S. Army.
Okay. Okay.
So, long story. That's a very long, complicated story about that Ace Mobile Force.
So where we left off was that Ace Mobile exercise in Turkey. Continue your story from there.
That's the NATO. That's Ace.
Or NATO.
Yeah, it's the Ace Mobile Force. In fact, it's on the wall in one of the decorations in here. That was, it was an experience that I think everybody should be able to go through, to show the camaraderie that you felt when you're with a unit. It's there, but when you go take that unit and put it someplace else, and everybody around you is, quote, not you.
Right.
There's a feeling of belonging, camaraderie, pride, comfort, whatever you want to call it. It's all big time. I had that feeling with the Vietnamese.
Really? Huh?
And I had the feeling with Ace Mobile Force in Turkey.
Really? Huh?
That feeling of somebody's got your back.
Yeah.
There's no other way to put it. You know,
right.
You're feeling that you're not alone, and somebody's got your back, and you can sleep well. So,
wow.
Anyway, Ace Mobile Force.
Yeah. So, so this is the tour in Germany. Take your story from there. Stayed in Germany for a while, or moved on to your next assignment, or?
No, I'm not sure about the sequence of time, but after one of these tours, when I went in, got my commission, I was a California National Guard going back, but I was I had an Associate of Arts degree, not a bachelor's degree. So in the second tour, Germany, uh, the sequence is confusing.
That's fine.
I'd have to draw it all out.
Yeah, right.
But the Army sent me to University of Nebraska
Oh,
to finish out my my bachelor's degree. So then after that, we spent about a year. Lois and I, we spent a year in Omaha there, and then back to Vietnam again. First tour in Vietnam was 1967-68. Second tour was 72-73.
so almost two entirely different wars, really, I think. Well, now, was that common to do a second tour, or did you request that, or how did that happen?
Luck. There's good luck and bad luck.
Yeah.
It was just timing. The war was going on for a period of time. 67 and 68 was fairly early in the war, but then it went on 68, 69, 70, 71, 3 and 4 years. So then I went back in 72, 73. No, I did not. I volunteered for the first.
Yeah.
Did not volunteer for the second.
But was it common to send somebody that had already done a tour back to Vietnam for a second tour?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It was, it was not less than half, shall we say? It was not uncommon,
Yeah.
but it was not
Okay.
that common.
Okay, and probably more common for officers as opposed to enlisted personnel, I would imagine.
Well, a lot of enlisted people, some of them would have an enlistment period,
Yeah.
and then they get out.
Oh, okay.
So you have a guy that goes in there. I went to Vietnam. I was active duty on my first enlistment, or an enlistment, for 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, whatever their enlistment period was, whatever they signed up for. But then they get out of the Army.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, but the officers normally would stay for extended period of time.
Yeah.
The longer you're in, the higher your rank.
Yeah, right. So, what were your thoughts the second time after you experienced it the first time? What were you thinking as you were heading back over for a second time?
Not looking forward to it.
Yeah.
No. But I thought, I mentioned before about the Fort Knox keeping me back for a the nuclear weapons employment course. I presumed that I would go back to Vietnam and be in some air-conditioned bunker someplace doing plotting and doing that kind of stuff. Because I was a major at the time on my second tour.
Was that nuclear program, was that the Davy Crockett program?
No.
Oh, okay. All right.
No, David Crockett is just a small part
Uh-huh.
of the nuclear weapon. Mine was nuclear weapons employment overall.
Oh, geez.
It's called a prefix 5. Like an officer, say an armored officer, MOS was 1204. I just like okay. Now, if after going to the nuclear weapons employment course, my MOS was 1204. It's a prefix 5 course, so that goes on your record. Any scanning through or any computer printout, your name would come out, and this officer is qualified to plan,
Gotcha. Okay.
to plan nuclear weapon employment. So we had to go through the B-52s, the subs, the aircraft, all of it. You had to be able to tell what size of nuclear weapon, the delivery weapon, delivery system, whether it be an aircraft, artillery, submarine, and whether a high air burst, low air burst,
Wow.
ground
A
burst,
lot involved,
underburst. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was probably the most mentally taxing thing that I ever went through.
No doubt.
And so anyway, that's when I went back to. What I thought when I went back, because I was a prefix 5.
Yeah.
I thought that I would be doing planning, something. Well, I did end up in Cam Ranh Bay in an air-conditioned bunker called JDOC. JDOC was Joint Defense Operations Center. It's at Cam Ranh Bay, and our role there was to gather intel from all different sources, from aircraft, from some of these sound buoys. We had the thing there that they would drop them from aircraft. They'd hit the ground and they'd look like a plant, but there'd be a microphone. Anyway, we listened to those and have the Vietnamese translators translate sometime what they were for, and then also the JDOC, we had at Cam Ranh Bay had patrols, air patrols. So Reader's Digest version short. My job was to plot potential targets for strike teams around Cam Ranh Bay. I mean, within flight distance, Cam Ranh Bay, to protect Cam Ranh Bay in essence. So we'd gather intel from all different sources. Vietnamese, we had a Korean division operating across Cam Ranh Bay, a Korean division, and they had intel also. So it had intel coming in from all different kinds, U.S., Vietnamese, Korean. We gather intel what's going on out around Cam Ranh Bay area. And we'd send out a patrol once or twice a day, and it consisted of, it was either 2 or 4 loaches. A loach is a LOH, Light Observation Helicopter. It's a small helicopter.
The bubble.
By Hughes.
Uh-huh.
Well, yeah, it's a little, the bubble in Korea is one thing, but this is a later version.
Yeah.
It's by Hughes.
Yeah.
It's called the Loach. Had either 2 or 4, and they would fly low, down looking for trouble.
Hello?
Literally looking for trouble.
Right.
And but above that, there would be a C&C, command and control ship. That's what I was in, the C&C ship.
So you were riding, and you weren't on back of the. You were on the coach.
I'm always in the middle of something.
Yeah.
Every time.
Yeah.
The C&C ship would be, but the Loaches, the command and control ship, it was a Huey.
Yeah.
It was a elongated body, a lot of radios. So I would ride there. So I would be talking to the Loaches, but then above that, we would have either 2 or 4 Cobras. They'd be circling, and the Loaches, they'd fly down and look in trouble, and I'd give them coordinates where we had intel that something was going on. They then would go look at that, and if it looked too quiet, the Loaches, they'd go in and shoot some machine guns in there, just stir the pot, they call it. And then when the Loaches got shot at, they got out, I mean, in a hurry.
Yeah.
That's when I would release, I tell the Cobras, I would release the Cobras. They were like pit bulldogs I was holding back.
Yeah.
All they had to do was say go, and they went in and just blew the hell out of whatever the target was. So that was my job for several months in Cam Ranh Bay.
Were you high enough though that you wouldn't take armed fire from below, or were you? No. Okay.
One of the oddities in there, the air medal with V. Army officers don't get air medals with V.
Yeah, I think that's the first time I've ever heard of it. Huh?
They got that because I'd bring the Huey down in several times because the Loaches sometimes would find what I'm looking for, but they couldn't sometimes. So I'd have the Huey, my command ship, go down to look to stir the pot. And anyway, that's, we did that, I did that once or twice a day for 2 or 3 months. There's no 7-day week.
Yeah, right.
There was no 5-day work week.
Right. Yeah.
Every day.
And that kind of leads to a question on both your tours. I mean, you look at your situation over there. I mean, you were probably sleeping okay at best, oftentimes not sleeping, so you weren't getting enough sleep. Food was okay. Hygiene probably wasn't so good. You're out in the elements. I mean, every one of those individually could bring a man down, but you had them all going on, plus you had the umbrella of the stress of war on top of that. How did you function? How do you think you made it through those periods of time, do you think?
I don't know. I can't answer that
Yeah.
question. You just did what you, one step at a time.
No.
But the first, it wasn't all that bad, because when you're back at your at your base camp, you're surrounded, and you sleep good. You get to take your shower out of a.
But even then, I mean, so you go out on say a hairy mission and come back. That night you're laying in your cot. Are you able to? Or do you replay that? Or are you able to decompress and leave it behind?
No,
Yeah.
I guess the way I could put it, you're always thinking ahead. You always think ahead. You don't think back. Don't look back. But in Cam Ranh Bay, on the first few months, I had a shower every night. I had my own little compartment hooch in a building. So Cam Ranh was luxury. But then in '73, they abandoned Cam Ranh Bay.
Right. Yeah.
That's another part of the story. They abandoned Cam Ranh Bay. Not particularly any sequence, but piecemeal, all the people at Cam Ranh Bay. The Korean division left. They were off in the city of Cam Ranh. The Korean division left, and then the Vietnamese Army, the Vietnamese Navy, the Vietnamese Air Force, all left. The U.S. Navy left. They had some Navy guys there left, Navy SEALs. That's a different story. The Army left. So they brought in 250 Chinese Nung mercenaries. Chinese Nungs were Chinese by ancestry, but Vietnamese by birth. So they're born in Vietnam, but their ancestry was Chinese. But the Vietnamese government didn't trust them because of their Chinese ancestry. So the U.S. CIA, the U.S. hired them as mercenaries. So they brought in 250 of these Chinese Nung mercenaries, and they needed an advisor to stay with them. Guess who?
Oh,
I didn't volunteer, just because of my advisory
Right.
experience before. Here I am in the middle of things
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
time after time after time. Only this time I didn't have an NCO with me. It was me and they were good people, good troops.
Oh, so you the U.S. troops with you, or these mercenaries? When you said good troops.
The mercenaries.
Oh, so you trusted in them. So you had trust in them, and
Oh yeah.
oh, okay, okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh, all right.
Very much so.
Okay,
They
okay,
were-
good.
A lot of people didn't, but I didn't have any choice.
Yeah.
I had to trust them. But they were good people.
Okay.
They watched after themselves. They watched after you. They appreciated what you did. Of course, one of the things is when a lot of the stuff, I'm going to get into a classified area, but I was given a single sideband radio. A single sideband radio is a very, very long range radio. And had a lot of firepower because single sideband radio put me in touch with the U.S. Navy aircraft.
Okay.
So anytime I wanted firepower, I wanted something burned up, blown up, whatever, I'd go to the frequency, call signs, and they would send whatever I wanted, the fighter planes. And we were not supposed to be there just a few weeks.
Yeah, well, that's my question. Here you got the North Vietnamese Army working their way south. We've all, but by and large, abandoned it. What was the purpose for you to stay behind?
To delay as long
okay.
as possible
Okay.
the occupation and use of the Cam Ranh Bay facilities.
Okay.
Because it's one of the best ports
Yeah.
in the world. The Cam Ranh Bay is just a deep water port that is protected.
Okay.
It's very akin to the San Francisco Bay. The Golden Gate Bridge, come in,
Yeah.
big bay. Cam Ranh Bay is very, very similar to that. So our mission was to delay as long as possible the occupation of Cam Ranh Bay.
Okay. Gotcha.
And with all that firepower, and we had intel coming in all the time because the Chinese drones, they had intel out also, and they would give me who was doing what where, and if we didn't want them there, then I'd call in airstrikes and get rid of them. And we caused a hell of a lot of damage for a long time. I skipped over a funny story about Cam Ranh Bay.
Oh, please.
When the U.S. Air Force were almost, but virtually the last ones to leave. So there's a huge air base there. And there were thousands of airmen there. And when everybody was leaving, planes were leaving, went up to the fence one time at the runway. I was told on the radio by the Air Force security police to rendezvous with them. And as an Air Force security police captain, there was a Air Force C-141. It was ramped down, and the airport, the Air Force security police had their security guys on jeeps with machine guns on back of them, and they were loading up, and they were the last ones to leave Cam Ranh. So this Air Force guy came up, gave me a badge, Air Force security badge, and it's in the barn, and it said, It's all yours, sir.
Oh, jeez.
And I stood there and watched the last, you want the last train from Saigon? No. I stood on that fence through a chain link fence and watched the last Air Force plane leave Cam Ranh Air Force. It took off, banked to the right, flew off over the South China Sea, and it got real quiet.
That had to be disheartening. I can't imagine. Oh, man.
I
mean, technically, you were one of the last Americans to leave Cam Ranh Bay then,
yes,
if not the last.
I have, it's in the shop, I think, I have the last U.S. flag that was flown in Cam Ranh Bay. A lot of stories there.
Yeah.
Too many. What was I going with that story?
So, I think when we talked earlier, when you were briefly talking about that, you held out longer than you were supposed to, I believe, than was anticipated, right? Or
it was, instead of several weeks, it was several months.
Yeah.
And it's bad, but I didn't let my presence be known too many places all the time. And anytime I wanted anything, ice cream, call radio, the Navy would send a helicopter and give me ice cream.
Yeah.
So it was good and bad. Got lonesome sometimes.
No doubt. Yeah.
But one night, the Vietnamese sappers, a sapper is one that is demolition expert. They would come in with bombs, not bombs, but explosive devices, and blow up things. They were called sappers. And one night, huge explosion, and one of the big fuel tanks, the Air Force left fuel tanks. See, when they left, everything was still operational.
Wow.
I went in there to the base after when that plane left, and there were things still cooking in the mess halls. Lights were still on, radios were still playing. It was surreal. It's like science fiction. He just said, okay, everybody leave. No prep. Well, there was a lot of prep, but they left a tremendous amount of equipment in the Air Force. To bring back too many memories here.
Yeah. Oh man.
A lot of memories, but when they left a lot of fuel. This is not just a 5,000 or 10,000. These were these big, huge, 20-foot high tanks with hundreds of thousands of gallons of fuel. The sappers came in and blew one of those up. And it was in the middle of the night, and I heard the explosions, and then surreal.
Yeah.
A windstorm. When you have a fire, something that big that's burning, it sucks air in.
Mm-hmm.
So from 360 degrees around that tank, wind started blowing in. And it was so strong that I had to lay down and to not be blown over by the wind coming into.
How far away do you figure you were from the tank? Roughly.
Well, less than a quarter mile.
Oh, jeez.
I was close enough.
Yeah.
Close enough that I felt the heat. Felt the heat in front of me and that sand coming in from behind me. Oh, Navy. Navy's one of the units that stayed behind after all this were the Navy SEALs. The Navy SEALs were there. They were there earlier that I didn't even know about them because they were so highly classified. So after everybody left, then I found out that the Navy SEALs were there.
Wow.
And they were working with this. At the time it happened, it was classified. I'm sure now, it's so long ago, it's not classified. But they were using dolphins. They had these rubber boat, I forgot what they called them, Zodiacs, I think. They had rubber boats with 2 or 3 outboard motorboats, and they would go out in the Cam Ranh Bay. In Cam Ranh Bay, the water was just crystal clear, beautiful. And the ships that were there, before they all left, the ships that were there bringing supplies into Cam Ranh, they would have these limpet lights. Limpet, L-I-M-P-E-T, limpet lights. And they were lights that they hung over the side of the ship, underwater, big floodlights. So you look at the ship, and the ship looked like it was flying.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because the water below was all lit up, but you could see everything, propeller, everything was brilliant. It was all lit up. It looked like the ship was flying in the water. Well, the problem with that is, well, the purpose was so they could see sappers coming in, underwater demolition guys.
Yeah.
They could see them so they could shoot them or whatever. Well, the problem was it would tell them, the bad guys, where the ships were.
Yeah.
Well, the Navy SEALs had fun. They had these Zodiacs, and I got to ride with them quite a few times just for the fun of it. They would go in and they'd have these grenades, and they'd throw grenades in the water, underwater. So we'd ride around these ships throwing grenades, sometimes for fun, sometimes for real. But sometimes we'd throw grenades just to let the ship guys know that we were there watching out for them. So we'd throw grenades, and they did, yay, and all that kind of cheering on the guys in the Zodiacs down there. So it was fun.
Wow, man, man.
But bad part, real short bad part, had one time there was a call that some of the Vietnamese still on Cam Ranh Bay, there was a body, a corpse body. Just imagine the Michelin man.
Okay, yeah.
A human body, when it's in the water, will decompose, and it swells and turns white. So they found one of these bodies floating up that the SEALs killed with the grenades.
No.
And they pulled the body out, put it on top of a three-wheel motorbike, and hauled it away. But it was about as grotesque a scene as you ever want to see.
Yeah, right.
And you never forget it. But the Navy SEALs with the dolphins, they would train the dolphins to go look for sappers. And the dolphins, they were smart. The dolphins were able to go and find a sapper and then come back and signal. How they did it is immaterial, but they would let the SEALs know that they had found a sapper.
Wow.
And the SEALs would then put on harness on them with a sharp thing, and it would go out and they would hit the sapper and have a line coming out from that arrow with a float. So the dolphins would go kill the sappers, the float would come up, the SEALs would go bring them in.
Wow.
Again, that was all highly classified at the time. I'm sure it's not classified now.
Yeah. So at what point then explain the point where it's like, okay, we've got to go. It's time for you to go. What brought all that on, and at what point was that determined?
Well, one of the things I knew, I was getting time when, this ties in into your question. You're familiar with the C5A, the Galaxy, the
Big transport.
the big one.
Yeah.
After everybody else had left, and after I'd been there for a while, after the tank blew up, and later on, I heard a big terrible roar. And long story, it was a C5A landed at Cam Ranh Air Force Base. There was no support, no security, just all by itself, a C5A sitting out there on the runway. Why? Okay. I went up, drove up from it into my Jeep, and said, "What's going on?" And it was C5A, and the C5A, you can load back and front. Well, they had difficulty. It could not raise its front end. They were unloading tanks, M41A3s, the same tank that the Vietnamese had. On my first tour, same tank. They had, I can't remember whether it was 2 or 3. Just my mind blocks out.
That's fine. Yeah.
But they had 2 or 3. They were M41A3 tanks, and they were combat loaded, ammunition and fuel. And they could not raise the nose to get them out, so they had to back them out. So they asked me to, you're an armor officer, do you know how to drive a hell yeah, that's, yeah. So anyway, the command pilot was an Air Force colonel, and there was an Air Force general, 1-star general, who was not the command pilot. But the Air Force does strange things. The guy in charge of that aircraft was this Air Force colonel. The Air Force general was not the boss. He was not in charge. It was his plane. Mm-hmm. So they asked me if I could start it and back them out. Now backing it, there's no rear view mirror in a tank. So you have to have somebody called ground guide. You have to somebody to ground guide you back out of the tank. Well, I had an Air Force colonel and an Air Force general doing this, and both of them were just, it was, I won't say scared to death to demean them, but where they were with no security, and the NVA, it was not that far away, and trying to back a tank out of their aircraft, because if we damaged it, they would be.
All right.
Anyway, long story, got the tank, both tanks out, and they closed the aircraft up, and they took off. They were glad to get out of there. So anyway, after that, it got so that the NVA were starting to get a little too close, and I just said, no, it was up to me to make the decision.
Oh, okay.
So I said, let's get out of here. So got a helicopter flight, courtesy of the Navy, to Nha Trang. Nha Trang is a big thing in the book. Nha Trang was a major training center, covert, for special operations, SOG. You're familiar with the term SOG?
No, for those that'll watch this as well, explain.
SOG is Special Operations Group. These are, sometimes they're in uniform, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they have beards, sometimes they're not. They're special operations, special forces, Green Beret, Red, whatever you call them. They're all different types. Mm-hmm. And they were training at Nha Trang. So flew into Nha Trang and flew down to Tan Son Nhut and reported into MACV headquarters and said, I'm done. Came home.
Wow. And it must have been, and once back home, it must have been kind of a sad sight to to watch the news reports as the Vietnamese worked there. And seeing these places that you knew about, and then overrunning Saigon, and yeah.
Lois and I visited there later.
Oh, good. Well, I want to talk about that. Yeah, that's always one of my questions. If you went back, so we'll discuss that. So you got back, and then how much longer were you in country before you shipped home after evacuating?
I honestly don't remember.
Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah.
I guess there was so much relief or something.
Yeah.
That kind of blanked out.
Fair enough.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I got out.
Wow. So you're back in the States, and then where take the rest of your career, and then we'll.
No, that was the first 10 years.
The first 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah.
See, I had 10 years reserve, 10 years as an armor officer, armor with tanks, combat branch. Then I came back from that. Then I branch transferred. I branch transferred to the Military Police Corps.
Oh, wow.
So I became a cop. Because that Air Force guy handed me that badge
Right.
at Cam Ranh Bay. He said, "It's all yours." So, anyway, that's first 10. Then I went in to be a military police officer. See, how do I transition from that? I was at Fort Riley, Kansas, when I did the branch transfer. I was the combat branch officer for the retraining brigade at Camp Funston at Fort Riley. Camp Funston was a prison for U.S. troops who were bad guys. And concertina wire. They were in barracks, but they were not good guys.
Yeah.
So while I was there, all the other officers were MP officers. I was an armor officer, so I branch transferred. But then we had a riot there inside the compound, and myself and one of the MP officers went inside to try to negotiate with these prisoners. And you know what a bunk adapter is. Bunk adapter is where you had army cots, bunks, metal cots, and you stack them on top of each other. There are metal tubes about 13, 14 inches long, they're big around, and they would hold the cot above it.
Okay.
They were bunk adapters.
Okay.
Well, they threw those at us when we got inside. The other officer got hit in the head, and he had brain damage, and he went to hospital and he's medical discharge for brain injury.
Oh, wow.
I got hit in the kidney with one, and I was passing blood for a while. See, there I am in the middle of things again.
Yeah, right.
Everywhere I go, something happens.
Yeah.
Then I became the operations officer for Fort Riley, Kansas, for all the MPs, all the MP patrols. Then, at first, assignment was, they put me in as a confinement officer for the Slammer. And the Slammer is the prison, the jail, if you will, at Fort Riley, back from the 1800s. And it was rather primitive. Funny story. One of the duties or options that a military police officer in that position had the option was to select one or more prisoners that they could release under their own cognizance to go for Christmas and things like that. So I was at my desk at this confinement facility at Fort Riley, and this young soldier came in, and the provost sergeant said, "Sir, you need to talk to this guy." He said, "We've already selected him to be one that you can let go back to his home for Christmas." But he doesn't want to go home. Yeah, I said, doesn't want to go home. I said, bring him in. So the provost sergeant brought this young soldier in, and he just happened to be a black soldier, young guy, and short of stature, almost a baby face. Just you didn't expect him to be a prisoner.
Right, yeah.
And I asked him, why, point blank, why don't you want to go home? He said, "Sir, I don't think it would be safe for me to go home." I said, "Why not?" "Well, it's just, I got this girl pregnant there, and I don't think that would be good." And I said, "Well, okay, let me talk to somebody." So I asked him to leave, and I got the sheriff for the county that he was from. And I identified myself, what was going on, what the options were, what he was off. And he said, "Well, Major, don't send him back." I said, "Well, let's." He said, "Well, yeah, he got this girl pregnant, but he also got her mother pregnant." I didn't send him home.
Oh, wow.
Funny stories.
Yeah, right.
Funny stories.
Yeah. So how long then were you in that part of your career then, in the MPs?
Then I went to Reforger in Germany, Reforger exercise with the Big Red One, went over on this exercise, the whole division. I was there as the operations officer for the MPs. Then came back.
That's just like a TDY. That way you weren't.
It was TDY.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And then I went to Fort Lewis, Washington. I was sent up there as the deputy provost marshal for operations. We had a full colonel was a provost marshal for all of Fort Lewis, and then he had two deputies, one for operations, one for personnel and logistics. I was the operations officer for operations, which means all the patrols and all the MP duties, not the personnel or not the supply duties. So I did that. Then I got promoted to lieutenant colonel. Then they sent me to Yongsan, Korea, as the provost marshal. Funny story. I interject the funny to break it up a little bit.
Sure.
That when I first got to Yongsan, I was there for just 1 or 2 days, and just not even in my own quarters yet, but walked around, and they had these steam baths places. So I went in there and got a steam bath, and these Chinese, young Vietnamese, no, Korean. These young Korean girls were giving me the steam and a massage.
Yeah.
Well, they started to get a little, and I said, "No." Then they said, "What are you doing here?" Long conversation. I said, "I'm the new provost marshal." They stopped. So I was there as the provost marshal for 8th Army headquarters there in Yongsan, Korea. But while I was there, they had a coup. The Korean government had a coup. See, there I go again. Long story short, I brought in a company of U.S. infantry to bring them in to provide security for the base.
Yeah.
Because I forgot that there were 300 or 400 Korean civilian security guards that provided security at the gates. They were Korean. And that's, anyway, I digress because there's so many different tangents to go on. Lois? So many stories about Yongsan too. A couple of quick stories.
Sure. Yeah.
One of the things that Yongsan had problem with black market stuff being brought in from Japan, and we had some guys, the military police. There was one company of U.S. military police under the provost marshal, a full company. There's 100 or so U.S. MPs and then 200 and some odd Korean security guards. Anyway, long story, we having trouble with things coming in from Japan, black market. Had some of the CID guys, that's U.S. military criminal investigation committee, and we tracked down that it was coming from a MAG compound. MAG, you know what? MAG is Military Advisory Assistance Group. They work, they're a different chain of command. They're under the State Department. They're not under, anyway, at MAG group. So we found out that it was coming through because of some of the flights that MAG was making from Japan. The guys were bringing in, they were, almost all of them were majors, and they were bringing in a bunch of black. So we had a chase down one time, and some of my guys chased these MAG guys into the MAG compound. And they said, "You can't come in here." I said, "No, because we're not under your jurisdiction. You're military police. We're MAG, we're State Department." I said, "No, but your uniform says U.S. Army, U.S. Air Force. You are subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, the UCMJ. Do you dispute that?" No. Long story short, several of the majors were sent home.
Wow.
And out of the Air Force,
Wow.
out of the Army rather. Long story short.
Yeah.
I'm boring myself.
Okay. Well, we'll wind it down then. So then, how long was that before you finally put in for full retirement and got out of the service?
1 year in Korea, provost marshal. Then I was back because I put in for retirement, and the MP Corps was. So they were very displeased with me because they wanted me to stay to be promoted to full colonel, but I had enough, too many things, PTSD, OCD,
Yeah.
and I'd been through too much, so I said no. So they sent me back to Fort Carson, and I was put as the operations officer for the 43rd Support Group. 43rd Support Group is the logistics headquarters for overseas deployment for any and all types of units. So if a unit is sent someplace overseas, 43rd Support Group would be the ones that coordinates all of their movement and their supports for their movement. So I had 3 different lockers down at Fort Carson. One if I had to go to a jungle area. One I had to go to if I had to go to with a parka. Different to go anywhere we had to. That was our job. All over the world. And I was put as the operations officer again. So, long story short, I got a call here one morning. Said, "Sir, we got an alert," and it was a code name for alert, meaning that it wasn't practice; it was real.
Right.
So, "Sir, we got some kind of alert." And I said, "Okay." He said, "It's Trinidad. They have a problem down there. We have to send some potable water tankers to Trinidad." So I'm here and I'm going through all this stuff in my mind. Okay, I said, "Alert CRAF." Now CRAF is most people don't know about it, but CRAF is Civilian Reserve Air Fleet, Air Fleet, Civilian Reserve Air Fleet. It's all of the civilian airlines, United, Pan Am, all of them. They have they're part of CRAF. So all you have to do is say, okay, CRAF is initiated, and they have these civilian planes to come and do whatever.
Wow.
I said, alert CRAF and do this and that, and alert. They said, "Sir, I think you ought to come down here before we do this." I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Sir, you come down." So I'm driving down the passing, Trinidad, Colorado.
Instead of Trinidad.
So I made a fool of myself.
Yeah.
I was learning the whole world, craft and everything.
Yeah.
We're going to Trinidad. So we ended up, there I am in the middle of it again. So anyway, we sent 5,000-gallon tankers, and the Fort Carson, the engineer battalion had the U.S. Army's largest potable water transportation ability in the Army. So we supplied them with fresh water for a week or 10 days. So anyway.
Interesting. Well, Glenn, we'll start to wind down this interview. So then you got out of the service and then just been in full retirement ever since? And
No, I went into real estate.
Oh, did you? Oh.
Went to real estate brokerage. Lois and I both got our real estate brokerage license. Was in real estate development for a few years.
Yeah.
And then finally just got into retirement.
Yeah. And this beautiful,
Yeah.
peaceful 5 acres up here outside of Woodland Park.
Yeah, it's 5 acres bordering the national forest. We can't even see the neighbors. And all of our neighbors have either feathers or 4 legs.
Yeah. That's cool. And it helped bring you the peace that your career stirred up? I mean,
it's the right place for me to be.
Yeah. And we didn't talk about family. Any children, grandchildren?
No. I had 3 younger brothers, and they've all passed.
Yeah.
So no grandkids.
Yeah.
No children. No
Yeah.
grandkids.
Okay. Yeah.
That was my choice because of our travel the world over.
Yeah. And you and Lois have now been married, what, 68 years? I think you said. Yeah. Wow.
To the same one.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, if there, as we wind down, a couple of questions, and then we'll. I know I've taxed you here. What are your thoughts as you've had time now to chew on it from being in the thick of it till now, and we've had time to analyze it. What are your thoughts on the Vietnam War, both then and now, or has it pretty much stayed the same? And any thoughts on that you want to share or not?
Well, I'll give an analogy that we did in Vietnam when we were there. We would talk about what was happening, who was coming at us from where, and we'd say, you know, if you were sitting at home and water started flowing under the door from the kitchen, what would you do? Get a towel and try to sop it up, or open the door and turn off the water?
And that's how you saw. Oh, okay. That's a great analogy. I've never heard it that way. But yeah,
We should have turned off the water.
yeah,
But I don't look at Vietnam. I don't look back at it with anger per se, frustrated, disappointed, disillusioned, and I still have the same reaction when I see unruly demonstrators abusing their rights, quote rights, not obeying. Keep in mind, combat experience, police experience. I was a cop.
yeah,
So now to see what these rioters doing with police is frustrating, irritating. But you know, I don't dwell on Vietnam anymore.
Okay.
It's done. It's
Yeah.
behind me. I survived. I guess I have more positive feelings than negative. All the anger, the fear, the explosions,
Yeah.
shooting people, killing people, almost being killed. Those, I look back at some of these things in here, and I bring back the memories of the good people.
Oh, good, good.
So,
Very good, good. Well, I want to thank you for sitting down today to tell an incredible story, but more importantly, I want to thank you for your service to our country.
I've often wondered, what is the correct answer to that comment?
Yeah,
Think about that. People say to you, thank you for your service. What do you say? You're welcome?
yeah, right, yeah,
It doesn't seem like it's quite the right thing to say, but I really don't know. I've never asked anybody, and I don't know what the correct answer to
right,
that accolade, if you will.
right, right.
Thank you for your service. That's okay. No. What do you say?
Yeah, well,
Maybe you can pursue that question.
yeah, right.
What would be a correct answer?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's an individual thing. I would imagine, you know.
I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you for your time.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is at a 727 going 1967 on the flight from San Francisco to Hawaii to Guam, then to Saigon. But no combat uniform, no weapons, no fatigues, just sitting there wondering and thinking to myself, I'm wondering or pondering, what am I going to do? What will happen? What will I do when I get into combat? And what will my reactions be when the first time I'm shot at?
Wow. I can't imagine having that thought.
Where we landed at Pleiku because the aircraft had some maintenance problems. One night at Pleiku, and you got on another plane to go from Pleiku to Saigon. In that plane, one engine blew up, had to come back, replace the engine, and then fly on to Saigon. This is a temple adjacent to the MACV headquarters in downtown Saigon. Contrast the temple and MACV headquarters with barbed wire and concertina wire around it, and that was my accommodation for 3 nights at MACV. Okay. Lajni compound, that's the headquarters, the base camp for the Advisory Team 70, which was co-located or adjacent to the Big Red 1 base camp at Lamson. out in the field, not too far from base camp, but that's the Vietnamese version of Motel 6. It's the black beret, a brand new black beret with the tit yap patch.
Which is that right here?
It's the Vietnamese, which is the combat armor badge, which was awarded to people, U.S. troops who were served with the Vietnamese armor unit.
And you said General Patton's son was...
And I was questioned when I came back from Vietnam about wearing that badge on my fatigues and my dress uniform. And they questioned the right to wear that unauthorized badge. And I said, well, let me let you talk to General Patton. General Patton wears one also. When he stops wearing his, I'll stop wearing mine. And
so that's you and your driver.
See, each team, each troop, each advisor for each troop has a Jeep, but they're not U.S. Army Jeeps, they're Vietnamese Jeeps. So when you drive around in a Vietnamese Jeep, people, particularly on a U.S. base, people look at you very funny with the black beret. Okay. That's 777. That was a number, the bumper number for the Jeep. And we did not have U.S. Jeeps. These were Vietnamese Jeeps. And if you notice you're getting ready for a drive, sitting in the passenger seat, you learn real quick that you have your gun pointing out, so you have to practice and you have to learn how to shoot a machine gun from the wrong side. Wow. And it takes a little bit of practice, but you get used to it pretty fast.
Yeah. So Glenn, tell me again how the story behind this this letter here, and then I'll read it.
Okay. We were out on an operation away from our base camp, Godao, and I wrote a letter every day to Lois. But out in the field like this, long way from camp, had no stationery. So at the time, I just got a bottom of a sea ration box and wrote this note and wrote free on the other side with Lois's address in California, and gave it to a Huey Hogg pilot. And that note, that box, came all the way from Saigon to California.
Huh. And it reads, 19 July 1967. Hi, hun. We moved in position at about 10 o'clock with no trouble from the VC. They have already started clearing the jungle for a new outpost, and we are settling into the defenses and posts to provide security for the engineers. Hope you don't mind the crazy stationery. It's the bottom of a sea ration box that I had for lunch. Love, Glenn. And this, Glenn.
This was a letter from Lois, and it was in a helicopter, a Huey Hogg helicopter, bringing in our mail to us because we're out in the field. And it got shot down, and this letter was one of the few pieces that were salvaged from the wreckage of the Huey. Unfortunately, all the crew members were killed, but the letter must go through.
Wow. It says, in from the field, so you're having a meal after...
Tired, hot, beat. Our base camp is home. It's concrete floor, sandbags, corrugated metal roof, and stacked cots. And this was our riding home. That's our little community room that we put together to rest. Morning, Vietnam. Never forget that sound. That's the shoulder patch of the Vietnamese 1st Squadron. The Vietnamese had, I think, 12 or 13 squadrons, and we just happened to be the 1st Squadron, and my unit was the first troop of the first squadron. So Vietnamese Mot Mot is the first troop, first squadron.
And now, would you wear this patch on your uniform as well?
I did.
Okay. And then you had a funny story about this picture here in the corner.
Oh, that was an award given to, a special award given to us by the local Korean government. And we were brought in to give these honorific because of what we did in combat. But look at the facial expressions. It was very hot, and we were very, very unimpressed. That's the second or third day after the hand grenade in the face. That's the hospital in Long Binh, Vietnam. And the other one
And you were moved to Tokyo.
is after about 2 weeks later, I was flown to Tokyo to Camp Drake and spent 2 months in the hospital at Camp Drake. That's Lois visiting me in Tokyo. Go down for some MACV advisors to go to the division headquarters for the Terrorleaf division. We were flown in by Huey, and we were flown in, and we didn't know it until we got there. It was a Bob Hope show, and we got out, and there were 10 of us, and they paraded us down in front of the stage, and again with our unusual black berets and strange uniforms, and we all had our guns with it. Nobody else in the studio in the first rows had machine guns, but we stood there, and they gave us front row seats for the Bob Hope show.
Wow. Huh. Now, I see this is signed by Raquel. Did she just pass those out, or did she actually, were you the...
She signed it. We were front. Remember, we were front row.
Wow.
And we were the oddity. When we came in, everybody, I was on us because we were the oddballs. Who are these guys?
And then you said earlier, too, that you saw a second one with Sammy Davis Jr., right? And
that was at Cam Ranh Bay. After everybody left, his troop came in, but because of a screw-up in scheduling and didn't know what happened, Sammy Davis Jr. and his wife and their troop, they performed a show, and they did not pull any punches. They worked hard. They gave a wonderful show, and they were all wringing wet when they got through.
And there's only about 100 of you, right? You said something?
I don't think there was 100 of us left. But they gave us a full show.
Wow.
Very proudly wearing the black beret of the Vietnamese armor and the Tit Yap badge that General Patton and I both wore. One of the senior NCOs, the Vietnamese senior NCOs, with his daughter, brought her to the inspection day, which is a very special day for him because all the tanks and everything was put on display, and she was just cute.
Do you ever wonder what happened to those people after the...
Don't know.
Yeah.
A profile of the new beret and the Tit Yap patch and how young we were.
Yeah. Glenn, tell me, this is a funny story. Tell me a little bit about this form and set me up for the story. And I'll...
Okay. A spot report is merely a format so you would call in a contact with enemy forces, whether offense or defensive. It just ensures that you cover all the important factors as far as who you are, your call sign, the date, the time, coordinates, and then report what you saw and any results thereof.
And the report reads, it's from Micro Sunset, date of sighting 25 December 1967. Date is at 0100 or 0000 in the morning. Location XT 82.3124. Unit involved, Micro Sunset. Type of activity, sighting. Size of force, 8 reindeer, 1 man. Description of what happened. Heard unidentified noises on the roof. Friendly personnel exited building in time to see a fat man dressed in red riding in a sleigh pulled by 8 reindeer. And it support requested, none was requested. Broke contact, Sierra Charlie, type of contract, time of contract, 01:03 in the morning, and results, negative casualties, still examining small packages for booby traps.
Oh, that's a souvenir knife from Vietnam. It's the dog tags with the rubber trim so they don't make noise at night, and the P-38 for sea rations. And the knife was a gift from SOG, that's SOG, Special Operation Group, out of Cam Ranh Bay, from Nha Trang.
And that's different from the knife you said you got in Japan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you'd have to read the whole thing. That knife, very special. Oh, and that's the Ace Mobile Force. And this one is the Chinese nuns. And the rest of them are just decorations.
And you got your Silver Star, Bronze Star, Purple Heart. There's your air medal that you were talking about.
Yeah.
And then the various Vietnam medals. And then you said this third row, that's all from the country of Vietnam?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, those are not unit medals. Those are there's a difference in a unit medal and an individual medal. The government gives medals to a unit, and everybody in the unit gets it. But these are individual.
Wow.
Well, that's just a tour of duty where
Various places you were at.
Saigon, Cam Ranh Bay, there, Cambodia. Weren't supposed to be there, but we were.
Yeah. And you got a whole wall here.
This is the award from the Vietnamese, the Tet Yap, Vietnamese Combat Armor Badge, Vietnamese Armed Forces. See that? I don't know if we can read that or not. Certificate of Authorization.
So this certificate authorizes Captain Still, Glenn R., to wear the ARVN Armor Branch insignia. This authorization is granted by order of the Commanding Officer, Armored Command, Republic of Vietnam Armed Forces.
Yeah, these are 3 different Vietnamese medals.
These are the certificates that go along with what you've got in here? Yeah. And then your Silver Star, your Purple Heart, your Air Medal, Bronze Star Medal, Bronze Star Medal, Merit Service Medal, another Bronze Star, and another Merit Service Medal. Wow. Very good.
The 2 silver bars, black and camouflage. That's Captain. And this is the Vietnamese Tet Yap badge, Vietnamese Combat Armor Badge. And then the name, obviously. Then the 3 chrysanthemums is the Vietnamese symbol for Dai Huy. Dai Huy is Captain. And then this is armor. Then the Combat Infantry Badge, which is very revered in the Army.
Absolutely.
Army. And then the badge for the Vietnamese 1st Squadron. And this is a soldier patch for MAC-V, which is normally red and yellow, but that's camouflage, obviously. But the symbol is MAC-V. What it means is the sword of freedom penetrating the China Wall. That's Westmoreland.